Welcome to the Deep Dive Learner. Imagine for a second just spending 31 years of your life sitting in a room.
Right, just you in a room.
Yeah, you're sitting there staring at a single piece of carved wood, basically trying to figure out how to, completely erase yourself.
Which is just a staggering concept right out of the gate.
It really is. And today we are exploring a really profound, beautifully layered narrative about a human being attempting to do exactly that. We are stepping into the super meticulously controlled world of traditional Japanese no theater. And we're drawing from a source text called The Bridge.
Yeah, and our focus here is on a man named Fujiwara Kaoru. He's a 57-year-old master of this ancient art form.
But I want to be really clear right from the jump here. This isn't just about, the obscure mechanics of 15th century theater.
No, not at all.
Right. Our mission today is to unpack this universal struggle between, performing your life and actually living it.
Exactly. We're looking at the heavy burden of perfection.
Yeah, the invisible masks we wear every single day, and that terrifying but liberating act of finally putting them down. So, okay, let's unpack this.
To really grasp the weight of Kaoru's situation, we have to look at the severe contrast of his environment.
Okay, set the scene for us.
So the year is 1975, and outside the window of his practice space in Yotsuya, Tokyo, you have these massive glass and steel towers of Shinjuku rising up.
Right, so Japan is in this grip of explosive modernization.
Exactly. It's the era of bullet trains, booming electronics. Everything is moving incredibly fast.
But inside his room, it's a different story.
Yeah, inside his second-floor practice room, time has essentially been frozen for centuries. He just sits perfectly still on a woven tatami mat.
Wow.
And he's facing a 400-year-old carved wooden mask. It's a komote.
And that represents a young woman, right?
Yes, it possesses this serene, almost ambiguous expression. And Kaoru has spent more than 3 decades studying it, trying to master the art of vanishing behind it.
Which is just a staggering level of dedication. I mean, 31 years.
It's hard to even wrap your head around.
Yeah, and it's a dedication that hasn't gone unnoticed by the outside world either. Because early in the narrative, Kaoru gets this visit from the Minister of Cultural Affairs.
Right, a very high-profile visit.
Exactly. The Japanese government wants Kaoru to perform the lead role, the shite, in this legendary and highly demanding play called Izutsu, or The Well Curb.
And they want him to do this specifically for a delegation of foreign dignitaries.
Right. And the subtext here is super heavy. I mean, the government essentially wants to use Kaoru to prove to the West that Japan isn't just, a machine producing transistor radios and cars.
Yes, they want to showcase him as the living, breathing evidence of Japan's deep cultural and spiritual vitality.
And Kaoru just accepts the request, right? Without hesitation.
He does, because for a practitioner of his lineage, courtesy and art are expressions of the exact same underlying principle.
Which is subordinating yourself to something greater.
Exactly. To refuse the minister would be to assert his own personal ego over his duty to the tradition, which is just unthinkable for him.
But the moment he accepts, we're introduced to this hidden, devastating crisis he's been dealing with.
Yeah, it's a massive secret. For years, Kaoru has been hiding this crisis about his art. In the discipline of the absolute highest achievement is to dissolve your own identity completely into the role.
Right. When you put on the wooden mask, the human face behind it is supposed to cease existing entirely.
You are supposed to literally become the ghost that you are playing on the stage.
But Kaoru can't do it anymore, can he?
No, he's lost the ability. He has developed what the source text describes as a fissure.
A fissure. That's an interesting word for it.
Yeah, it's this hyper-aware watching consciousness. When he performs his movements, he is acutely, painfully aware that he's performing them.
So he's basically watching himself act.
Exactly. He is no longer disappearing into the character. He is merely a man performing the act of disappearing. The text uses a brilliant metaphor here, actually. It says, Kaoru's performance has become the difference between actual water and the mere image of water.
Oh, that's beautiful. But so sad. It looks perfect to the audience, but fundamentally, the substance is completely different.
And the substance is entirely hollow.
I think anyone listening can map that feeling onto their own life.
Oh, for sure.
It sounds like a highly philosophical, almost existential version of severe burnout or imposter syndrome.
That's a great way to put it.
Like, you play a role in your career or within your family so perfectly for so long that the actions just become an empty, mechanical routine.
Yeah, you hit all your marks, you say the right things.
And everyone around you applauds because you look like you have it all together. But internally, you are completely detached. You're just a spectator in your own mind, watching yourself go through the motions.
It's a very lonely place to be.
Yeah. But how do you actually fix a disconnect like that? I mean, if your self-consciousness is the problem, you can't just think your way out of it.
No, you really can't.
Because trying hard not to be self-conscious is inherently a self-conscious act.
And that is the exact paradox paralyzing him right now. He cannot fix this fissure from the inside.
Because the harder he tries,
The harder he tries to force himself into a state of unthinking emptiness, the louder his internal watcher becomes. He is trapped in this rigidly structured, solitary loop.
right, he's just stuck in his own head.
Until a highly unusual external disruption forces its way into his sanctuary.
And this is where Kawase Rei comes in.
Yes, this disruption arrives as a cream-colored letter from a 23-year-old university student named Kawase Rei, who is studying aesthetics.
And Rei makes a deeply audacious request, right?
Oh, totally. He doesn't want to become a student in no theater. He doesn't want to learn the techniques.
So what does he want?
He simply asked for permission to sit in Kaoru's practice room and observe him disappear.
Which is just such a strange request to make of a reclusive master. Like, hey, can I just come watch you not be there?
Yeah, it's very bold. Yet, surprisingly, Kaoru agrees to it.
Really? Just like that.
Well, he sets incredibly strict parameters. Rei is allowed to sit by the wall on Tuesdays and Thursdays. He is absolutely forbidden to speak, and he must not move.
Wow. So we enter this bizarre, really tense dynamic between them.
Yeah. For months, these two men share this small room for 2 hours a session twice a week in total silence.
And Kaoru is just going through his agonizingly slow, precise practice routines.
Listen, and Rei just sits against the wall.
Yeah.
But the atmosphere of the room undergoes a fundamental shift. It goes from being a space of absolute solitude to a space of witnessed solitude.
Which changes everything.
It really does.
Yeah.
And that shift in the room's energy builds until the 6th week, when a huge breakthrough occurs.
What happens?
Kaoru is practicing a specific sequence where his character, a ghost, approaches a well. He pauses, and for a fleeting duration, just 3 or 4 seconds, the glass of his self-consciousness actually shatters.
Wait, he finally does it.
He does. He isn't thinking about the angle of his fan. He isn't monitoring his posture. He's completely, genuinely still. The watcher in his head simply vanishes.
That must have been an incredible relief for him.
Oh, absolutely. And following that session, Rei actually breaks their strict vow of silence to address what happened.
Oh, he speaks.
Yeah. He tells Kaoru, "You were not performing stillness, you were still."
Wow, just calling it out directly.
What's fascinating here is this specific, really rare quality of Rei's attention. The source text compares Rei to a waki.
A waki, what is that exactly?
In the structure of a no play, the waki is the secondary figure on stage, often like a traveling priest.
Okay.
The waki doesn't drive the action. His entire function is to serve as a witness. He provides a vessel of attention so complete and grounded that the ghost, the shite, finally has a safe space to manifest and tell its story.
Oh, I see. So Rei is embodying this ancient theatrical role in real life.
Exactly. He is providing what we might call equal attention.
Equal attention.
Right. He doesn't lean forward during the beautiful, dramatic poses, and he doesn't zone out during the tedious, repetitive walking. He gives every single moment the exact same depth of presence.
I mean, I hear that, but I have to push back a little on the human psychology of this dynamic.
Oh, how so?
Well, in normal life, when someone watches us intensely, we usually become infinitely more self-conscious.
That's true. Yeah.
Like, if I'm cooking in my kitchen and my partner stands over my shoulder just staring at my hands, I'll probably drop a plate. Or if your boss watches you type, you suddenly forget how to spell your own name.
Right. The classic performance anxiety.
Exactly. So why does Rei's intense, unwavering presence have the exact opposite effect on Kaoru? Why does being stared at actually cure his self-awareness rather than amplify it?
Because Rei's gaze is entirely devoid of expectation or judgment.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, it dismantles the hierarchy that usually causes our anxiety in the first place. Think about the boss watching you type.
Okay, yeah.
The reason you freeze up is because there is a hierarchy of evaluation there. You know there's an expectation of performance, and that external pressure activates your own internal watcher to frantically monitor your actions and ensure you don't mess up.
Oh, that makes so much sense. So Because Rei isn't judging him.
Exactly. By not judging the practice, by not treating the climactic moments as more valuable than the mundane ones, Rei essentially starves Kaoru's internal judge.
Wow.
The internal watcher realizes there's nothing to defend against, so it relaxes its guard.
And what happens when that guard drops?
In that brief window, Kaoru is suddenly forced to look past his technique and confront why he has been so rigidly monitoring himself for 4 decades.
And that introspection leads him to a deeply buried family trauma, doesn't it?
It does. It happens in August, during the Obon Festival.
Right, which is the Japanese month of the dead, where spirits are believed to return to the household altars.
Exactly. So Kaoru is looking at his family shrine, and he is forced to confront the memory of his older brother, Takeshi.
Takeshi was the true prodigy of the family, right?
Yes. He was the brilliant natural heir to the Fujiwara lineage. He moved on stage with an absolute innate fluency that Kaoru never possessed.
But things didn't go as planned.
No. When Takeshi was 21, he looked at this 400-year-old tradition and saw it not as a beautiful legacy, but as a suffocating closed door.
Yeah, the pressure must have been unbearable.
It was. So Takeshi walked into the sea at Kamakura and drowned himself.
God, that is so tragic. And that left Kaoru, the second son, to abruptly step in and fill this massive void.
Yes. And standing before the altar, the layers of Kaoru's self-deception finally peel back.
He realizes something devastating.
He realizes he never actually wanted to be a no actor.
Wow, after all those years.
Yeah. He stepped into his brother's shoes purely out of familial obligation and societal duty.
That is heavy.
His entire 40-year career, the relentless discipline, the agonizing perfectionism, it was never driven by artistic passion. It was actually just the most refined, elaborate form of obedience.
Wait, if he realizes his whole life is essentially a lie, why doesn't he just walk away? I mean, wouldn't realizing you never actually wanted to be an artist completely shatter your ability to perform?
You definitely think so.
Especially right before a massive performance for the government.
Right, but it actually has the opposite effect. It doesn't shatter his ability. It shatters the illusion of why he was struggling in the first place.
Oh, so the fissure makes sense now.
Exactly. He finally understands his watching consciousness. It isn't some technical flaw in his acting that he needs to fix.
What is it then?
It is the hypervigilance of a dutiful understudy who is terrified of messing up a role that was never meant for him.
Oh, wow.
He's been spending his whole life performing a desire he doesn't actually feel. Recognizing this doesn't destroy his technique. It separates his true self from the inherited burden.
That is so profound. And shortly after this revelation, Kaoru finally opens up to Rei.
Yes, he finally talks to him about it.
He explains that without the mask, he can now occasionally find that place of genuine stillness, but the moment he ties the carved wooden mask to his face, the paralyzing self-consciousness just rushes right back.
And Rei responds with a deeply moving story about his own late father.
His father was a master calligrapher, right?
He was. Rei explains that his father painted the character Ichi, which is the simple horizontal stroke, meaning one every single morning for 30 years.
30 years just painting one line.
Yeah. He filled thousands of notebooks in this rigid pursuit of absolute, unblemished perfection.
But something changed at the end of his life.
Right. When Rei examined his father's very last notebooks, painted in the final days of his life as his body was failing, the strokes were entirely different.
How so?
The ink wavered. The muscles crumbled. Yet Rei tells Kaoru that those trembling, imperfect strokes were the most profoundly beautiful things his father had ever created.
Wow.
Because the rigid glass of perfection had finally broken, and the actual mortal, vulnerable human being was allowed to bleed through onto the paper.
Here's where it gets really interesting. Listening to this, Rei offers an observation that completely flips Kaoru's understanding of his art.
Yeah, this is the turning point.
Rei says, I think the mask is not a thing you put on. I think the mask is a thing you put down.
Such a powerful line.
Right. Kaoru realizes that his ultimate obstacle isn't the ancient piece of cypress wood. His obstacle is his own face.
It's his social face.
Exactly. It's the social mask of Fujiwara Kaoru, the dutiful surviving son, the obedient understudy, the flawless master. He has worn that social identity for so long and managed it so perfectly that he just forgot it was a construct.
Yeah, he confused the mask with his actual face.
Oh, whenever he tried to wear the no mask, he was simply layering a wooden mask over a psychological one.
Which is impossible to maintain. And this raises an important question which actually sits at the very philosophical core of the text.
Okay, what is it?
How do you actually become empty?
Right.
In Kaoru's practice room, there is a calligraphy scroll featuring the character Mu, which translates to emptiness or nothingness.
Okay, Moo.
Kaoru finally grasps that Mu cannot be achieved by using your ego to suppress your ego. That is just the ego doing more complicated work.
That makes total sense. You can't outsmart your own ego using your ego.
Exactly. To achieve true emptiness, you have to actively put down the daily constructed mask of your identity. The wooden mask doesn't erase you. You must offer the wooden mask an entirely empty vessel to inhabit.
The mechanics of how he applies this realization are just fascinating to me.
Yeah, it's really beautiful.
Armed with this earth-shattering psychological unburdening, Kaoru is hurtling toward the day of the massive Izutsu performance. The stakes honestly couldn't be higher.
They really couldn't.
But what does he do the day before the show? He completely breaks his rigid protocol.
Yes.
He refuses to practice. Instead, he just sits in his modest kitchen, eats a simple meal of mackerel, and quietly looks out at his garden. Why does he do this? I mean, why on the eve of the most important performance of his life does he just eat fish and stare at trees?
Because he is integrating the concept of emptiness into his baseline existence. By doing a completely mundane, unartistic task with full, unjudging presence, he realizes that the performance isn't some elevated event in the future that he needs to anxiously prepare for.
Yeah, right. Emptiness isn't just a mystical state reserved only for the stage.
Exactly. It is a continuous state of being. You don't perform eating a mackerel. You just eat it.
It just exists.
Yeah, he realizes he is already there. The separation between living and performing has dissolved.
And that sets the stage for an incredibly visceral climax. It's the day of the performance.
The tension is palpable.
Kaoru is sitting in the mirror room, which is the sacred preparation space connected to the main stage by the Hashigakari at the bridge.
Yes.
The dressers are meticulously wrapping him in layers of heavy, stiff silk brocade. The hypnotic, piercing sound of the bamboo flute and the sharp thwack of the shoulder drum begin to bleed in from the stage.
The atmosphere is just incredibly intense.
And then the dresser approaches him and holds up the 400-year-old Komote mask.
And this is where we see the physical manifestation of his philosophical breakthrough.
What does he do?
Before the wood even makes contact with his skin, Kaoru actively lets the muscles in his face release. He is physically and psychologically letting go of the identity of Fujiwara Kaoru.
He's dropping the social mask.
Exactly. He drops the burden of the dutiful son, the survivor's guilt of the brother, the heavy mantle of the master. He achieves Mu. He empties the vessel.
Wow.
So when the wooden mask is finally tied into place, it isn't covering a human face. It is filling a void.
He steps out onto the bridge, and the text describes a performance of sheer transcendence.
It's unlike anything he's ever done.
The ghost of the young woman walks. The ghost performs the jonomai, which is a specific dance that is agonizingly slow.
We should probably note that the jonomai is incredibly difficult because the movements are so drawn out that the slightest twitch of the performer's ego, the slightest rush to get to the next pose, is completely exposed to the audience.
Right, there's nowhere to hide. But Kaoru is completely gone. There is no internal performer monitoring the angles of the dance. There is only the movement itself.
And out in the audience, sitting in the third row, Rei is watching.
Yes, and his dark eyes are wet with tears, reflecting the pure, unperformed reality of what is happening on stage.
This is such a beautiful moment.
And when the dance finally ends, Kaoru returns to the mirror room, and the heavy mask is untied.
And when he looks in the mirror, he doesn't see the composed, flawless master he has projected for decades.
What does he see?
He sees a face that is flushed, trembling, mortal, and raw. He sees the man who has been hiding beneath duty and technique for 57 years.
Wow.
And for the first time in his life, he smiles a genuine, uncalculated smile of pure recognition.
So what does this all mean? How do we crystallize the mechanics of this journey?
It's complex, but it comes back to the text.
Right, because the source text briefly mentions this beautiful, elusive concept of rujaku, the flower of old age. Can you explain how that concept ties into what Kaoru actually achieved on that stage?
Yeah, so rujaku is considered the absolute pinnacle of aesthetic beauty in no theater.
Okay.
It is a specific type of beauty that only emerges when a practitioner has absorbed their technique so completely, so deeply into their bones, that the technique itself vanishes.
The technique just disappears.
Exactly. It is a return to simplicity, but it's a profoundly heavy simplicity because it contains the invisible memory of 10,000 hours of grueling practice.
That makes a lot of sense.
When Kaoru walks across the stage during the Izutsu performance, his movement doesn't look like the walking of an amateur, but it looks entirely, effortlessly natural.
The visible effort is completely gone.
The performer is gone. Only the pure, unburdened presence of the act remains. The grand irony of Kaoru's journey is that he didn't have to add any new skills to his art to achieve this masterpiece.
You just had to let go.
Exactly. He had to relentlessly subtract himself from it.
I want to turn directly to you, the listener, as we wrap up today. Think about your own daily routines. Think about the specific social face you put on every morning when you wake up.
We all have one.
Yeah, the capable face you wear for your manager, the endlessly patient face you wear for your family, or the successful face you project to your peers.
It takes a lot of effort to maintain that.
It really does. How much of your actual life force, your daily energy, is drained by managing the performance of who you think you should be?
We spend so much time making sure we look perfectly put together from the outside.
Right, terrified that the foundation is cracking, rather than just allowing ourselves to be present in the room. Imagine the sheer physical relief of doing what Kaoru did.
Oh, it'd be incredible.
Just putting down an emotional weight you've carried for decades, a weight you might not even realize you're carrying.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, it deeply challenges everything modern society teaches us about success and skill.
Very true.
We are constantly taught to view mastery as a relentless accumulation. We think it's about acquiring more skills, more knowledge, more discipline. We view life as a constant building up of the self.
But building on this incredible story, consider this final thought before we go.
What's that?
What if true mastery in any given field isn't about perfectly remembering everything you've learned? What if it's actually the terrifying, vulnerable process of forgetting it? Think about your greatest skill, the thing you are most proud of doing well, the thing you derive your identity from. What would happen if, tomorrow, you completely stopped trying to do it well? What if you dropped the mask, stopped monitoring your own performance, and simply allowed yourself to exist?